Hello, everyone. My name is Aiden Dozier, and we're back at it again with another interview. Today, we have a very special person. This is a very good friend of mine. Her name is Meiyah. Now, before we get started, let me just go ahead and introduce Meiyah myself. Meiyah is a sophomore at Old Dominion University, and the reason that we're interviewing her today is not because she is a hip hop scholar, a producer, or an artist. We're interviewing Meiyah because she is possibly the most important person to all of those aspects of hip hop. She is the listener, she's the consumer, just a regular everyday person who enjoys listening to hip hop music and uses hip hop language from social media and all other platforms. So, Meiyah, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, where you're from, what you like to do, and what type of music you like to listen to.
Hello, my name is Meiyah, and I am from Yorktown, Virginia, but I'm currently in Norfolk as a full-time student. I like to go on nature walks and listening to music.
Thank you for that, Meiyah. Thank you. Now, my next question is, when did hip hop first become a part of your life, and what would you say your relationship with hip hop is? It doesn't mean you have to be the biggest hip hop fan. I mean, if you really don't appreciate hip hop like that, which you obviously do, you can be very truthful. But what is your relationship with hip hop, and when did hip hop first become a part of your life?
My relationship with hip hop is pretty good. I have a wide range of people that I listen to that make hip hop music and R&B. I'm mostly on the R&B side, but I love hip hop as well. I was first introduced when I was around 4 or 5 ish, from the earliest time I can remember. Car rides, they'll be playing on the radio, and I'd be in the back seat jamming. My favorite time of my life.
That's very interesting. What do you remember, like any artists that you heard growing up? Where with the first artists that you heard, or maybe songs?
I was listening to, well, I heard a lot of Drake and Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, people of that nature.
Okay. Would you say that the type of songs that you heard when you were young, specifically hip hop songs, have influenced the type of hip hop that you like today?
Yes, because I like more of a older hip hop type song, so I don't really listen to the modern hip hop, but I definitely like the old feeling of, and like the nostalgia that I get while listening to those artists.
I feel like it's very interesting that you say that, because going off of that, I want to ask you, who are some of your favorite hip hop artists now, or people that you listen to the most?
I typically listen to KP Skywalker, Young Nudie, Young Thug, Lil Uzi Vert, people like that.
I feel like it's very interesting that you said KP Skywalker, who's also a rapper from the DMV. For everyone listening out there, KP has a lot of love out here in the 757, the 804, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Baltimore, and all across the country as of right now. And I feel like it's very interesting that you said someone like KP Skywalker, because KP is known for sampling those old beats and using that smooth style that a lot of the rappers you originally listened to use, people like Drake and people like Lil Wayne. My next question is, would you say that hip hop has also influenced the way that you speak in everyday conversations? If so, how?
Yes, I get a lot of slang from the songs that are in the song. So, like words like motion, cap, locked in, certain words like that are definitely in my vocabulary. Not as much as they used to be because they're kind of dying down a little bit, but they're still there.
I feel like it's very interesting that you already used words from hip hop that I'm going to be asking you about later. Not just those specific words, but words like motion, locked in, cap. Those are perfect examples of the influence that hip hop and social media has on today's generation, because we've seen initially the birth of these words, not the birth of the word itself, but the birth of the way that the words were used in our time period. We watched it be used by some guys in just random social media videos or people that we knew in real life. And then we just watched as the words got more and more popular, and now they're being used all over the country. No matter how you use it, they still have their meaning from where they come from. My next question that I want to ask you is, have you ever caught yourself using any of these words? Have you ever caught yourself saying something like mid, aura, no cap? Have you ever caught yourself using any type of slang terminology that comes from hip hop and you caught yourself using it in a regular everyday conversation?
Yes, not that I caught myself, more of like me using it just for like mostly jokes. Like I'd be like, oh, he got more aura because he did something so cool, or oh, that's mid, I don't like the food, or just little things like that.
It's funny because do your friends or family use the same language, which I'm sure they do? And do you notice a difference in the language used by the different generations that you know? Right? Like I know your friends and family are way more likely to use words that we use today than something like your grandmother or mother would use from their generation.
Um, I don't really hear my mom use any language from her generation. They'll kind of slip in words from our generation, but not too much, just because they'll hear it and be curious, ask us questions, and when they realize that we like it, they start using it to be all cool and stuff. It's kind of adorable, but yeah, my friends and I use the same language as well, like same way as jokes. So
I really like that you answered that because I have a very good question to go off of that one. First of all, you said that you notice your mom doesn't use too many of the words from her generation. And I can say the same thing about my parents. They slip in words that we use actually, and that's because truthfully they're not that far behind us. You know, their time was, even though now about 20, 30 years ago when they were around our age, their time was still extremely recent.
yes, I believe that parents are learning the same things as us at the same rate. So they'll be on social media finding the same words as us. So it's kind of cute.
Exactly. And both of our moms are actually on social media, always sending us reels. So I just feel like it's funny that social media and hip hop's influence is so strong that it's affecting the other generations. And now everyone is just using the terminology today. And I just think it's funny how life works. So going off of that, do you think that social media plays a strong role in the spreading of language that comes from hip hop? And how strong do you think the role it plays is? Like, if you were to give me a scale of 1 through 10, you could do that if you wanted to. Or you can just tell me how strong you personally think the role that social media plays in the spread of language from hip hop is.
It plays a 10 out of 10. Honestly, you find videos and they'll be talking about it, and that's how it spreads. That's the only way that it can really spread is through social media, comment sections, live videos, posts being spread around. Music, again, hip hop, it'll be in songs. Um, yeah.
Thank you for that amazing answer. So, we're talking about social media and how it spreads the language that comes from hip hop. So, with that being said, words have meanings, but words also have lifespans. And we've learned that especially in our generation. Like, if I were to get upset with you and I called you a jive turkey, you'd look at me like I was crazy because everyone knows that is a word that was used in the 70s, the 60s. That's a word that would offend my grandma, not you. So, my question is, going off of that, do you feel that social media has affected the lifespan that these terms that we use have, or has it affected the lifespan and the meaning that they have? Like, do you feel that when more people from more regions use a word that one region got from their own form of hip hop, do you feel like the word loses its meaning?
I feel like it loses its meaning when it's used too much or used in the wrong way, like, or just used too much. So I do agree that words can die down.
That's a very good answer. Going off of that, what would you say in today, as of right now, in social media, the way that social media is, and the problems that social media has brought with how fast things can come and go, what would you say the average lifespan is of a popular term from hip hop today because of social media? 5 years, 10 years, ongoing.
Depending on how much is ranked, because honestly, there is some words that our parents and other generations still use. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
Probably swag.
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 That was more like 2000s.
That was in the 2000s, but they definitely
Yeah.
played a part.
Yeah. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
The question is like, what would you say the average lifespan is? Like today, a word can probably become popularized probably 2 years ago, and now the way that people behave on social media, you may have a group of people saying you still use that word. So do you feel like that's not true or a myth, and do you feel like words are always going to have their own meaning, or do you feel like because of social media a word will die out quickly, and how fast do you think it will die out?
Honestly, a perfect example of this is aura. I do feel like this word is kind of dying out. It's been around for over a year and some change, and I'm starting to hear it less and less every day, even on social media. Um, Now, some words like cap, that's been around for like 4 or 5 years. That's been around for a very long time, probably even longer. And it's not going nowhere. It slows down a little bit, but it's still very much used. So it's like certain words that can die. It just depends on the word and if people think it's cringy or the kind of meme that comes behind it.
Exactly. And going off of that, I feel like it doesn't as much depend on the word and the word's meaning as much as who is using it. Like like you said, I remember aura becoming popular just a year ago now. Even though aura has been around for centuries, aura really just became popularized. But because of the types of people that are using it and the ways that they use it in, it comes off as very corny. It comes off as very cringy. And now you have so many people saying just anything that pertains to aura is corny. They see people say, "Oh, he lost his aura," this and that, and now you have mass populations of people not even wanting to use the word anymore just because of particular people that use it. So, going off of that, living in the 757, and have you lived in the 757 how long?
My entire life.
So, you are a 757 native, a Yorktown native. Do you think that people have their own style of speaking in the 757 compared to other places? Do you feel like you all have your own culture and style of speaking here in the 757 of Virginia?
Not really. I feel like it's mostly a Virginia thing. Oh, you said like in the region. So 757.
region.
Yeah, I say 757 definitely has its own way of talking. Or I say like majority of Virginia, the whole state of Virginia has its own way of talking, just like Alabama, Texas, everything.
Thank you for that. Next question that I would say is, do you think that artists from Virginia have influenced the way that people in Virginia communicate? Maybe the language you use, the way you all carry yourselves, the way you all talk. Do you think that artists from Virginia and in Virginia have influenced the community?
Yes, I do.
Any artists that come to mind? I know you all have a lot of big artists. Some of the biggest artists that we've seen in the century. We have Chris Brown, we have Pharrell Williams, we have just humongous artists from Virginia. But at the same time, we see people saying that we don't see a lot of talent coming out of Virginia anymore. Not because Virginia is talentless, but because social media does not show too many Virginia artists. Like you can say the same thing about artists from Wisconsin, artists from anywhere that isn't Atlanta, California, Texas, New York, etc. So, would you say that Virginia is a good place to be an artist?
Um, it's not completely horrible, but I feel like there's limited support, like in spreading nationwide. Again, like you said, there's not many people that you hear um, that are coming from Virginia.
If you can, which is perfectly fine if you can, it's very hard to just think of words on the spot. If you can, being that we're talking about slang, can you look back on the past few years, right? Was there a term that became very popular and almost died out? Whether it was because of who's using it, making it corny, or it just wasn't hitting the same. Is there a word that came, almost died out, that was influenced from hip hop that ended up just staying?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say what you said. I cannot think of any on the spot. Like from Virginia or anywhere?
Not from Virginia, just anything like social media, like Aura, Locked In. Which is, if you can't think of it, that's completely fine.
Yeah, I said Aura was definitely one of the ones that is dying now. It's used a little bit, but not as much. It's mostly used in like a corny way or just people trying to find a way to use it.
That's funny that you say that because we are actively watching this question in real life. We're watching Aura, which was at some point very popular. Now it's still so popular that we see the most professional platforms like Microsoft and NFL and NBA professional sports teams using it on their posts. But I feel like once a word or a term becomes so mainstream, it loses its value. So my question for you is, when something becomes too popular, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it could be a good thing and a bad thing depending on what it is, but most of the time it's in a bad way because a lot of good things don't last because they can get ruined by people who are not using it the right way again and just taking away the fun from it. And yeah,
We're currently talking about the use of slang words that are popularized from hip hop and social media. We're talking about what happens when those words become so mainstream and they are being used in professional settings by the top professional platforms. So going off of that, have you ever used any type of slang that came from hip hop or social media in a professional setting like school or work? How did it go and what was the reaction that you got? If it was completely normal, that's just fine.
I don't think I've ever used a term on accident in front of like in school or what was the other place?
Just a work setting or any type of professional setting where slang would probably most likely be frowned upon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I never encountered that.
Okay, and that's just fine. My next question being, a lot of people think that using slang, they think that it hurts communication. A lot of people demonize slang, especially slang that comes from hip hop, because hip hop is a much hated genre. Not just because it's hip hop, but because of the culture that hip hop was born from. Hip hop was born from the black community, so it makes sense why hip hop gets so much hate. So my question for you is, when people say that slang hurts communication, as in it just hurts proper speaking, how does that make you feel, and do you agree with it? Because also people say that it's really just time evolving, and it's good that people are finding new ways to communicate with each other in more comfortable ways. So where do you stand on that debate?
Okay, I agree with both sides. I feel like time is evolving, so new words are being used. And on the other page, I feel like if you're talking to someone that isn't as open to social media or isn't on social media as much and don't know what certain words like mid or a cap and all those other words are that are being used, it's kind of difficult to communicate, especially if you have older coworkers, younger coworkers, wherever you stand.
Wow. Meiyah, do you feel that hip hop influences not just society, but do you feel that hip hop plays a role in influencing culture beyond the music, beyond the beat, and beyond the production? Do you feel that hip hop shapes culture beyond just the music and the sound?
I do think that because it's like you're communicating with your certain group of people, or just, I just say yes.
Thank you so much for that answer, Meiyah. And I feel like if there's any way we should end this podcast off with these last few questions, it should be about the culture that hip hop has built and the language that hip hop has built. My question to you is, if someone from another country was coming into America today and they wanted to understand American culture and American youth culture specifically, meaning everything that comes with our generation's culture, the social media, the music, the R&B, the hip hop, if they wanted to understand that, how much would understanding hip hop language help them? Do you think like it would help them a lot, a little, or just enough?
I think just enough, because it's a lot of different things that people need to learn. I say, yeah, just enough.
I'm glad that you say something like just enough, because the truth is, hip hop is not everything. Hip hop is one genre in a sea of items that pertain to our culture. What I will say, on the other hand, is when you look at the past generations, art is the stepping stone that every generation must use to go forward. And when you look at the past generations, it seems like every generation had their own genre that is what I would say the theme, the representation, whether they like it or not. When you go back to the 60s, if someone were to do a 60s music or just 60s culture representation, you're probably going to hear a lot of rock and roll or just 60s music. 80s, you're going to hear some hard rock and roll. 2000s, you're going to hear R&B. You're going to hear punk rock. So what I will say is hip hop plays possibly the largest role that it plays in culture throughout all of its history today. So finally, the last question I want to ask you is, what do you think the future of hip hop language looks like over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's hard to tell what the hip hop and music industry is going to look like 5 to 10 years from now, because technology is really evolving and there are now AI songs. So we never really know what it's going to hold.
And to be honest, I feel like that is the perfect answer to wrap up this entire interview. Thank you so much, because I'm going to be honest, as of right now, times do look scary when it comes to culture and cultural art and cultural art language. As of right now, yes, we're seeing new words, new terminology from hip hop become popularized. But the truth is, the next 5 to 10 years are looking very unpredictable due to how AI has entered and completely taken over the game of social media and music and really every other topic you can think of. If you all don't know that AI now makes it able for you to make AI generated songs, AI generated lyrics, AI generated cover art. So the same artistic values that an artist was required to have 10, 20, 30 years ago and so on, it's changed because AI gives them a huge boost. So with a question like that, I can neither tell you what the future of hip hop will look like. All I can say is that hip hop language will continue to be used and it will continue to be popularized in the culture that we live in. So I want to thank Meiyah for coming out and getting her interview today, and thank you so much for listening.